through Los Angeles. They're going to Central and South America where there's cheaper manufacturing, and these manufactured products are coming back to the United States where they're then sold all over the world. So there's this weird loop, and we're not making any money on that loop. This loop has an inherent amount of momentum, and we should be leveraging that momentum. We should be leveraging it right here on Olvera Street. We should create a Pan-American center to promote commerce throughout all of the Americas and keep it at the core of Los Angeles. The core of Los Angeles' history is this sweet, sleepy little pueblo, settled back in 1871, and we should leverage this romantic history with the Ramona pageant and Helen Hunt Jackson and forlorn maidens pining for their Indian boyfriends who were killed by cruel Franciscan priests. Take all of this and just tweak it however you want so we can just pump more and more money and get more and more business out of this exploitive loop of resources coming out of this country down into Central and South America, coming back and then being sold back to the very places that manufactured it. She thought that was what she wanted to do. Harry Chandler thought it was brilliant, and so when he had a meeting with her, so in 1926, let me get my notes so I get the dates right. Let's see. So Christine Sterling was walking down this street in March 1926, and she saw there was a sign in the front of this adobe. This is the Avila Adobe, 1818. It's the oldest adobe in the city of Los Angeles. By the time Christine Sterling came across it, the Rimpau family, which is mostly in Anaheim, they owned it. And she saw that there was a note on the wall that said condemned. The city of Los Angeles had condemned the structure and they were going to tear it down. Christine went home. She got really pissed off. She wrote a couple letters. She met with the Chamber of Commerce, the Merchants and Manufacturers Association, and they said, well, what do you want to do? And she said, you have to save this adobe. She hadn't quite formulated the brilliance of the Pan-American commerce engine yet, but she knew something was there, and she articulated this to some degree, and they said, well, you should go talk to our friend Harry Chandler. So the next day, on the 30th, she met with Harry Chandler, and he liked what she had to say. And they continued to meet for the next couple of months, and they figured out this notion that they could use the Avila Adobe as remanufacturing the romantic past of Los Angeles as this engine for the Pan Americas. December 25th, Harry Chandler creates a for-profit entity to buy the Avila Adobe and other structures on this street and start creating Olvera Street. So that happens almost immediately. That's 26. By 1931, construction on Olvera Street is done. It is ready. And the 150th centennial of the city of Los Angeles, sponsored by the Merchants and Manufacturers Association, the centerpiece of the La Fiesta is the grand opening of Olvera Street. And it is this vision of Pan-American commerce with Los Angeles as the core of it. And that was Christine Sterling. Quickly, we're running out of time. I want to read to you. Christine Sterling is a very interesting woman. So I said she was here in March 26. She saw the sign condemned. She started having these meetings. She got really pissed off. In response to these meetings and her being so pissed off, she actually came back to the adobe and pinned a note herself onto the adobe, like Luther, right? Like Martin Luther, the 99 Treatises. And this is what she wrote. She said, this old adobe outcast and condemned was the headquarters of Commodore Stockton, the American forces. Upon final occupation of Los Angeles in 1847 by the Americans, it's seen the flags of Spain, Mexico, and the United States. It's lived through the peaceful, happy days of early California before the Americans came, and its walls sheltered the Americans after they came. Well, okay. She essentially goes, okay. The homes of Washington, Lincoln, and Jefferson have become truly American shrines. This old adobe belongs to the history of Los Angeles. It is not ours to destroy, but entrusting its heritage to us will allow us to preserve and pass it on to future generations. Yeah, but it was all coached in this idea that they were going to use it to recreate, yes, the past of.
Was she more motivated as a historic preservationist or an economic protectionist?
Unclear. She didn't really write enough. She didn't write enough, and she didn't do enough to show us really which side of the line she fell on. For instance, Christina Sterling, there was an adobe just outside this. If this wall weren't here and you could walk straight out to Los Angeles Street, there's an adobe there called the Lugo House, biggest land grant owners in this county. The Lugo House was essentially a Buddhist shrine. Christine Sterling, not a fan of the Chinese residents of this quarter, and she told the city to tear it down in 1953, whereas in the same breath, when she told the city they should tear down Lugo House, she campaigned to save another building on Main Street that the county wanted to tear down. So she was deeply conflicted. She also lived in Chavez Ravine, and when they seized Chavez Ravine by eminent domain, she didn't put up a peep. But moved into here and lived here in the Avila Dove till she died in 61.
Wow.
Yeah.
How long did she live there?
She lived here for 15 years.
Oh my God.
15 years, yeah.
This was her home.
This was her home. So deeply conflicted woman.